In a fight, you can't hide anything. You're seeing straight through the character of your opponent because there's no space for hiding anything. The flow of the movements, it's almost like a dance, but it's also full force and full power. And it creates a kind of special space you can play in for maybe a minute. And then magically it resolves somehow with either you doing something spectacular, your opponent doing something spectacular, and it's just a celebration all the way around when it's done right. The term historical European martial arts describes a series of essentially extinct but rediscovered martial arts that have survived in a bunch of fighting treatises from the 15th through the 17th centuries. There are a couple as early as the 13th. The groups reconstruct those things. They try to translate the material out of the books, interpret what's in them, and then create structures to teach them, and then at the other end compete to test their interpretations.
The biggest challenges we have is interpreting the books and the treaties that are left. Many of the manuals are written in obscure poems, so you have to interpret, a poem that says, and you can strike from the high ground to hit the low ground. Like, what does that mean? So that's probably the biggest challenge.
Oh, nice. Double.
My name is Keith Cotterally.
He was being stabbed in the face. Marcus was stabbing him in the arm.
I'm with the Atlanta Freifechter.
By the way, that was a very common occurrence. In rapier duels, both people died a lot.
We are a historical fencing group based in Midtown Atlanta. We study longsword, historical wrestling, historical dagger work from Renaissance Germany, about the 16th century. We were asked to come to MomoCon 2015 convention. We were asked to essentially bring all of our weapons and have the crowds pick weapon styles for us to hit each other upside the head with.
My name is Brian Johnson. I'm the local group leader of the Schola Saint George, which is a group that studies and practices the historic European martial arts of northern Italy from 1380 to 1420 as practiced by an Italian swordsmaster named Fiore de' Liberti. So if we come here, it won't slide down and hit his hand. One aspect of the martial art is to learn to fight in full plate armor or full medieval armor. It's heavy and it'll tire you out a little more, but learning to fight in it definitely gives you an appreciation of how the medieval warrior, the medieval man-at-arms, had to condition and had to learn to maneuver in the armor.
Uh-oh. You right, brother? Yep.
I'd say the biggest hurdle to actually getting into historic European martial arts is just how new and distributed the art is. It's not the expense of the equipment, it's actually being able to, within a reasonable distance of where you may live, find a group to help you through it. You have to find an opponent to test yourself against. Today, the Atlanta Schola Saint George and the Atlanta Freifechter group got together to teach some classes and practice with each other, and then we had a inter-school tournament to show off everybody's skill and prowess with their weapons.
Historically, you would have seen probably the full spectrum of weapons in a given tournament. The new materials, nylon, polyethylene, things of that sort, can give you a lot of the same performance without the impact. And so we can fight closer to the edge without actually, doing deep cuts and damage to our opponent. And that actually, I think, is very beneficial because you preserve the martial character of it and the power.
Touch or flag football quite frequently, you trip, and you occasionally get knocked down. It's no more beating than I've ever seen anybody taken in a community field hockey league.
The only big issue we had was the Georgia heat. This is the middle of summer, so it was probably about 95 degrees out here. And wearing the padded jackets that we wear and the fencing masks that we wear, that got a little hot for some people.
When we moved into the finals, since you're only going to find people that are skilled with their weapon style, we switched to the steel trainers, and we fought out the finals with the steel.
I'd like to know why students are coming in, and mostly they tell me that they've had a sort of a romantic attachment to the sword since they were little. Now it evinces through things like Lord of the Rings or Star Wars or fantasy literature or something. But there seems to be some connection with our distant historical past. People in multiple cultures are getting back to their roots in some ways while we wrestle with this modernity. I think that's part of the draw here. And so I think it's a blend of sort of our romantic ideals of what chivalry was, we think it was, and sort of a chance to exercise that while also engaging in a sport that's a lot of fun. And it celebrates the whole spectrum of chivalric virtues, so courtesy is expected, but also is hard fighting. And so when that happens, you've experienced the joy of combat, you give a salute to your opponent, and the fight's over. And then you go back to your regular life and do whatever it is you're going to do.